Debra Winger is Emma Greenway Horton.
I got some good news. What's that? I'm unofficially pregnant. If you're not happy for me, I'm going to get so mad if you're not happy.
Shirley MacLaine is Aurora Greenway, her mother.
Why should I? Why should I be happy about being a grandmother?
Jack Nicholson is former astronaut Garrett Breedlove.
Wind in the hair, lead in the pencil!
I am not enjoying this.
And they are all coming to terms.
What is it, Mom? You are not special enough to overcome a bad marriage. Listen to her. She's going crazy.
Emma, your mother boycotted your wedding. She hates your husband, and she only holds you in medium esteem.
Oh, Mama, that's the first time I stopped hugging first.
How is your life going to get better if you keep having children with that man? What miracle is going to come along to rescue you?
Wait over by the car, honey.
No, come on.
Wait over by the car, honey.
But I want...
Wait over by the car, honey. Now! 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 I don't really think he wants to have anything more to do with me. Is it because you wouldn't go to bed with him?
On a first date, Emma?
It's hardly a first date, Mother. I mean, you've been living 10 feet away from him for 15 years. Why don't you talk about the real reason?
I don't know what you mean.
Because it's been about that long since you've done it.
Terms of Endearment.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Woo! Did you bring your box of Kleenex for this episode,
I still
Pete?
have all 5 hankies in my pockets right now. For more reasons than one. Everybody out there listening, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay. Welcome back to the show. Very special episode.
Indeed.
This is not quite our Mother's Day episode. We missed that by a couple months.
But it still could be. There's plenty of time for that.
So, Darren Stein from Jawbreaker, director of Jawbreaker, a movie that we have covered on the show.
Darren Stein, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
having me.
Really fun episode. We had a lot of people reach out of how much they enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to get you on the show, and now here you are sitting on our couch.
Yes,
Such
indeed.
a joy to have you.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to you for an episode, I think that you immediately said Terms of Endearment. Like, it was the first title, and I was like, great. On the books. I can't wait. I love this movie.
I love it too. And people are surprised that I'm into very emotional, sort of like dramatic, I don't know, comedy dramas like Terms of Endearment.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like they don't get covered. You know, we lean into the camp, the comedy, the sort of like kitsch, the edgy, the underground. And like, why not give a moment to Shirley MacLaine and Debra Winger?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the thing is, like, this movie has a storied history, and Debra Winger, I guess, was a pretty kind of punk rock like movie star.
Yeah.
For the 80s, right?
I mean, when did Officer and a Gentleman come out? Was that sort of the movie that launched her?
Probably.
Like, kind of to the A-list?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to say that was like early 80s, like 1980?
Yeah.
All I know is that song, Love Lifts Us Up.
I mean, that is a great song.
It's sexy.
An Officers and a Gentleman, Scott
The
always
year
says...
before.
Okay,
Yeah,
when
82.
Scott, you always mention how that's a movie for grown-ups.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I've never seen Officer and Gentleman just because that does have a adult sheen to it that still to this day I'm in my like mid-30s that I'm just like, that is a movie for grown-ups.
I saw that as a kid. I think I enjoyed it. I had the Z Channel, which was this very special. Before home video, there was the Z Channel, which you could only get in Los Angeles, you know? And I think that played on there, and I watched it. I liked anything that was like not for kids. Of course.
Yeah.
But didn't stay with me like Terms.
Absolutely. We had On TV, which was very similar to the Z Channel. I kind of specific memory, not about Terms of Endearment, but my sister, this is in 1982, I'm in the first grade, which puts her in the fourth grade. She got invited to a birthday party from one of her school friends, goes to the birthday party, comes home. My mom says, how was it? She said, we went to the movies. My mom said, great. What did you see? She said, An Officer and a Gentleman.
Oh, boy.
And me, I don't know anything. I'm 6. I'm like, what's going on? And my mom is furious. She's like, why? the hell did this woman take a bunch of 4th grade girls to see an officer and a gentleman? And we never forget it. My sister and I, to this day, every time we talk about this movie, we're like,
I love
oh my
that.
God. Remember when you were 8 and you got dragged to that movie?
Those movies change your life. Everyone has to have an inappropriate gateway movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. But, like we were saying, Debra Winger, kind of short-lived career, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't really know what Debra Winger's deal is. That I don't know if she stepped away or if Hollywood just quit casting her.
I'm
Maybe
not
it's a
sure
little bit
what
of both.
happened either. I do know that Shirley MacLaine, in her acceptance speech, she mentioned the quote-unquote turbulent brilliance of Debra Winger.
Very much like a mother and daughter relationship when filming the movie.
Right. And James Brooks mentioned that, like, I watched this interview with him where he said that when they were on set, they fell into this very specific dynamic that was nothing that he imagined or thought of and would have pictured.
Sure.
But he just leaned into it, and it turned out to be exactly what they needed.
Okay. Turbulent brilliance is amazing.
Does she say that in the Oscar speech or the Globe
the Oscars.
speech? We just watched the Globe speech, which is probably 10 minutes long. It's like they're giving Shirley like the Lifetime Achievement Award when she's accepting it.
I wonder if that was that before or after. That's usually before the Oscars, right?
Yeah, before.
Yeah.
And she did she give it? Was there any shady dig at Debra?
She definitely noted that none of them were there. Of that, she's just like, I'm the only one from our movie here.
Debra, Jack, and Jim Brooks didn't
Yep.
show up to the Globes.
I don't know if Jonathan Lithgow was nominated for the Globe, but yeah. I
But
think it was just
also
her.
in 1982, the Golden Globes were still on like TBS at that point, so they were not as prestigious as they became later on.
I just love that Debra was up against Shirley for Best Actress.
What
Yeah.
in the hell
I have
was she thinking?
I have a list of the 5 movies to have the 2 Best Actress nominations. Can you think of them off the top of your head?
No.
Other movies that got 2 Best Actress
It had
nominations
dueling,
at the same time.
the dueling actress competing for lead.
All I can think of is Thelma and Louise
Thelma and Louise, yep.
and All About Eve, right?
All About Eve, Suddenly Last Summer, Liz Taylor, and Katharine Hepburn.
Katharine Hepburn. Oh, shit. Wow.
The Turning Point, Shirley MacLaine, and Bancroft.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those were the other ones.
Okay.
And it's one of those things too that I don't think you could put Debra in supporting.
No.
She's too much of a lead, and she's a co-lead of this movie.
These 2 women hold their own completely.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Like there's no one outshining the other.
Yeah.
It's a complete just
But would it
embarrassment of riches.
But would it have been a shoo-in? Would she have immediately just gotten it if she put herself in supporting?
Probably.
A little Marcia Gay Harden kind of.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
All I know is, I think Shirley deserves the award.
Oh, yeah,
just for the
Yeah.
give my daughter the shot.
Oh, my God.
moment.
I mean, especially for an actress that had been hoofing it in Hollywood since like the late 50s.
And to be able to play
Yeah.
a character who's so narcissistic, so damaged, wears it just on her sleeve. There's nothing subtle, but it's so nuanced.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's just one of those performances that shouldn't work, and it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Shirley really gets the comedy of this movie, which I could see a lot of actresses going straight for the drama, but I mean, Shirley's funny in this movie.
She is. Everyone's funny. It's
Yeah.
so the way James Brooks. First of all, the pace of this movie.
Yeah.
For 2 hours and
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
it
It
fucking
flies by.
moves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like before,
Amazing.
you're like, oh, gotta watch. We're watching Terms of fuck. It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you start, you're like, oh, it's over.
Oh,
what?
shit. What happened?
I am in tears. I'm going to bed now. Okay.
I know that I start to get nervous when it gets to be almost an hour and 40 minutes and the tumor subplot hasn't come up. Then I'm like, oh man, this movie's going to take a turn
I
in
almost
like
forgot
5
about
minutes.
it last night. I was like, la di da, let's go. And then she takes the daughter to the doctor to get the shots, and I was like, oh shit.
Right, but then they go to New York. And
Yeah.
that's one of the most comedic sequences in the film when all those like uppity neurotic New York ladies are like,
Yeah.
we hear you have cancer. Tell us about it. And it's hilarious.
There's some Simpsons jokes in this movie, like
yeah.
that were
Yeah.
lifted from this movie and are in Simpsons episodes. Like the woman Lizbeth,
Yeah.
that's
No,
like straight
Lizbeth,
out
yeah.
like in a Simpsons episode. I love that shit.
And Debra Winger's character's ability to laugh at herself
oh my god,
in
Yeah.
the face of death.
Yeah.
Even up to the very end when she's like saying goodbye to her kids, there's a sweetness and hopefulness to that
Yeah.
character.
And I have to think so much of that is Debra.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because she just is such a kooky. I overuse calling people kooky, but
And is it one of those things that Debra Winger just has strong opinions, and when a woman has strong opinions on a movie set, immediately labeled a bitch or difficult? So yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, just in the early scenes with her and Patsy, you know, when they're like smoking the joint on the night before her wedding day, and they're just like, and just how Debra Winger is so physical with her scene partners.
Oh yeah, I like the way
everybody's face.
Yeah, the way
body.
she grabs her mother and kisses her on the lips.
Yeah,
or she kisses. There's one part where she kisses Patsy on the lips. There's something so inappropriate about her choices.
Yeah,
but that feels also very human.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't, I don't see anything in the performance that says difficult.
No.
Yeah,
that's what's weird to me.
Yeah. I see, like you said, like nuanced and bringing things in and the physicality and, you know, popping a zit on, you know, Jeff Daniels' shoulder as he's on the phone and him not even reacting to it and all that stuff is just so like...
Like if anyone's difficult, you think it's going to be Shirley MacLaine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Totally. We haven't talked about... We usually start off these episodes with...
Early memories.
Our earliest memory of seeing the movie. Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you mine.
Tell us.
I saw this movie. Okay, I was born in 71, so it came out in 82, correct?
Yeah.
So I was 11.
83.
83. So I was 12.
Released November 23rd, 1983.
Okay, so I was 12. I saw this in Westwood at the Bruin, which is still there, with my grandfather.
Wow.
Now, which one is that?
That's the one across the street.
From the Village.
The little one.
Where Licorice Pizza just played. No, they're both pretty big theaters.
Okay. Is that the one that Margot Robbie goes to in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or is it the other one?
No, that's it.
It's that one, yeah.
She goes
that one?
She goes
Okay.
to the Bruin.
All right.
I saw it with my grandfather. I think my grandmother might have been there, but I just remember him more clearly because he was like my movie buddy.
Sure.
And I remember just being completely enraptured by the film. And it was the first time that I cried in a theater.
Yeah.
And I felt like this really mix of embarrassment and shame about it. Because you're a boy and boys don't cry, especially not in public in a theater. So that was a very like loaded, awkward experience that I felt sort of embarrassment about.
Yeah, yeah.
How about your?
I love that story though.
And seeing it with your grandfather was nice because it's about family.
Yeah, it's such a family. Yeah. My mother, I think, is about Debra Winger's age, and I was probably about six or seven when this came out. So I did not see this in the theater, but I have a lot of memories of my mother and my grandmother quoting this movie a lot to each other, and my mother would always say to us, "Wait over by the car, honey. Wait over by the car." Yeah. Oh, she always tells us, "Wait over by the car, honey."
I love that scene because it's actually how parents talk to their children. And you never see stuff like that in movies and TV.
Never. And then she's like, "By the car. By the car." And then the Lithgow's like, "Your children are so well behaved. And you handle them so beautifully."
I love it. You know, being in the grocery store, my mom just saying like, she doesn't have enough money, just like constantly quoting this movie and always thinking that it was so hilarious. And my stepfather to this day talks about the bug up our ass having to die. Like, oh, you want a drink? Got to kill that bug up your ass. You know? And it took me a while to actually see it. When we had a lot of movies that we would record off of television, off of cable, and we had this for a long time. And one day when I was a teenager, I was finally just going to sit down and watch it. Oh, boy. Knocked my socks off.
By yourself?
Yeah, I watched it alone. Yeah, I was just like, I'm just going to watch. Took it upon myself. I watched a lot of TV and movies as a kid and a teenager. And so I just watched it alone. And I think I had actually seen Steel Magnolias first.
Talk about that.
Yeah. I mean,
that versus Terms for you.
Well, even though Steel Magnolias has a big tragedy in it, and there's a death scene, and Sally Field has her big moment, even as a kid, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more in like a melodrama, right? The comedy to me in Steel Magnolias was everything. And I loved specifically Shirley MacLaine and Olympia Dukakis. I knew that they had kind of aged her up in Steel Magnolias, and I remember seeing this and thinking, wow, like, she looks amazing. I know this movie's older, but like, geez.
We searched her age, 47.
No, she was closer to 50. He was about 46.
Oh, okay.
She was about 49. He was.
Oh, that's right. That was Jack's age.
46.
Which kind of blew our mind when we found that out.
Wait, Jack is 46 in Terms of Endearment?
Yes. He was born in 37.
He looks like he's like 50.
Doesn't he look like he's in his mid to later 50s? Yeah, we were both like, holy cow.
Insanity.
It's insane. But yeah, I just, I don't know. Something about this movie just made the direction, the dialogue, all of those nuanced performances made it just feel so much more like less of a movie, you know? And Sally and Dolly and all those characters kind of make Steel Magnolias a little bit more theatrical. And this is a little bit more of a real kind of movie. You know, they go to New York and they, you know,
and the tone of comedy and drama.
Yes.
That only James L. Brooks, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, he is the master of that genre.
Yeah,
Like, I feel
for
like
sure.
there's no film to me that comes close to Terms of Endearment for the comedy drama and the tears.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Shirley's performance,
It's staggering.
right out the gate, first shot of the movie, it's crib death. But the way she says it is funny. Like, even Aurora knows it's not crib death. Aurora is just, I need my baby to listen to me and to be awake and to be here when I want her to be awake. So I'm going to wake her up, make her cry, and then walk out of the room. And
then she goes, "That's better.
That's better."
Did you notice who the off-screen voice of her husband is? It's Albert Brooks.
Isn't it? Oh, wow.
I think that I read it was Albert Brooks.
It's Jim Brooks,
which is
so
like
it makes sense.
sort of like a Jim Brooks connection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I even as like a teenager, I was just like, and again, I loved Miss Weeza and all that, and I thought she was such a standout in Steel Magnolias, but I was just like, okay, this is the real deal.
For me, I saw this before Steel Magnolias.
Mm-hmm.
This film had such an impact on me that when I saw Steel Magnolias, which again I saw in the theater in New York City when I was in NYU, I was just like, this is no Terms of Endearment.
Right.
That's all I could think to myself.
Yeah.
And people were like tripping over themselves about it, and all the gays were going crazy. And yeah, it's hilarious. There's so much love about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is based on a play, and it's theatrical, And I just feel like Terms of Endearment just literally fucking blows it out of the water.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Which is terrible to say. I don't. It's not. You guys, it's not a competition.
It's not a competition.
Yeah.
It is. Stop it.
So you're saying all of our listeners who like Steel Magnolias can just go straight to hell?
No,
right?
no,
you heard
not
it first.
It's totally not. But isn't it funny how and when you see a movie?
Oh, sure, totally influenced.
Yeah, not just that movie, but every other movie. It's
absolutely.
Funny, yeah.
Well, it's that thing too. Like if you hear a cover of a song, a lot of times people will be like, "Well, I prefer this version," and everybody's like, "No, shut up!" But it just colors that kind of. It informs really just like, oh.
I think that the Parent Trap is a good example. Is how you can sort of date someone of how old they are, of what version of the Parent Trap they like.
The Lindsay version,
the Lindsay version versus the Haley version, the clearly superior version.
Scott, do you remember when you first saw Terms of Endearment?
So I remember when The Evening Star came out when I was a kid and sitting in the theater, and when you revisit that trailer for The Evening Star, Terms of Endearment remember Terms of Endearment, the movie that made you cry? Well, we're gonna buckle up. We're back. And I just kind of remember okay, I know that I've seen the box for Terms of Endearment at my grandma's house because she had it on video, but I'd never seen it. So I feel like I would have tracked it down after I did not see The Evening Star in the theater, but I just sort of became familiar with, Terms of Endearment.
It was big news when The Evening Star came out.
And I love that when Shirley MacLaine was on Rosie at the time, and she was doing press for it, she refused to call it a sequel. She said, it's another chapter. It's another chapter of, Terms of Endearment. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I think that I would have watched this movie with my mom, good mother and son and gay son cinema. Mm-hmm. Think that I watched it with my mom, loved it, and then I feel very, very shortly I double featured it with The Evening Star.
Okay,
a movie that I think that we could do a full episode on because I remember being obsessed with Scott Wolf in that movie.
All right.
That was like a gay awakening for you.
Yeah, Scott Wolf as the aspiring underwear model boyfriend of Juliette Lewis. So yeah.
You know what? First of all, did you and your mom cry together?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to get into that.
I mean, yeah.
And was that the first time you cried together in a movie?
I mean, possibly. I don't really know.
And the last time.
Deb, I don't know if it's the last time, but yeah, I remember watching it together.
Okay.
I think that we would have watched it in like the sewing room too. Like how just sort of specific is that for like a memory?
Very gay.
Yeah.
Very gay.
Very
But sort of, I am sort of at the generation where I do think of Terms of Endearment in the Evening Star like connected. Because they were very close of when I first watched them.
Mm-hmm. I was such a mega Terms fan that when Evening Star came out and it got bad reviews, I think I said to myself, I'm not even watching that.
Yeah, I never saw it.
You're just like, I knew it.
I refused to see it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen it?
No. I can't. If I did, I can't remember it.
It's kind of a mess, but I would say check it out.
I will. No, I will now. And Juliette, I remember thinking, okay, Juliette Lewis is in it. That's cool, but no Terms of Endearment.
And kind of shady that the two sons, they recast them. Oh. They recast them as Mackenzie Aston and
George Newbern.
Interesting. And I didn't find out until last night when Pete told me that Troy Bishop, who plays the oldest son, is in Scream. He's one of the Tommy. He's one of the teenagers that the Fonz expels. I'm just like, oh my god! Like he was even a working actor at the time, and they could not bring him in.
The older brother, in terms of Endearment, scowls through the entire movie.
The whole movie, he's just like
he's miserable. That kid is not having it.
No,
I kind of want to say that performance is camp.
Yeah.
In a way, it's terrible to say. The kid is so fucking miserable. It's like. I feel like out of all the performances, maybe he is the least nuanced.
Sure.
But he's
the most one note.
But he's genuinely miserable.
Yeah, he is.
That's okay.
I mean, a lot of kids are probably genuinely miserable.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the parents left him outside and fucking had sex.
Oh my god.
He's like,
that shot of that little boy putting on his coat and going and sitting
really
on those steps
it's really sad.
Will just rip your heart in half.
Because my mom and dad did that to me.
Oh, jeez.
No, they did. I remember coming to I used to be in my crib being like crying. And my mom would like throw a handful of Cheerios into the crib. And then that would like for 45 minutes I'd run around and eat the Cheerios. Because apparently I was a demand eater even back then.
I love that. When they age up Tommy and then they have the other brother who's now the younger one, that little boy...
He's incredible.
And that actor's name is
Huckleberry. Huckleberry Finn.
We love Huckleberry Fox. But Huckleberry Fox, in this movie, everything he does,
incredible.
I'm just like, rip my heart out.
That might be one of the best child performances of all time.
Oh my God. When, because they kind of show, he follows his brother everywhere. But Tommy is so pissed off this whole movie.
Tommy's pissed. Even when his mom's dying, he's fucking pissed.
He's still pissed. He's like, I like you.
But then she's like, one day you're going to realize that you love me. Oh my God, it's so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch.
But Huckleberry is just like, he just wants to follow his brother around. And sometimes older brothers can be really mean to their younger brothers.
That was me, yeah.
I
was really mean to my brother.
Yeah, my brother and I really were like at each other's throat a lot. And you just feel, but he still follows him around. And when Tommy's like giving her lip, he's just like, cut it out. Like he's behind her, like telling him to shut up. And
I love when he reveals that his mom was too lazy to go looking for like a Boy Scout program for him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Because you learned about that character, Emma. Yeah. You're like, oh well, I just thought she was on the phone with her mom all day. Well, I guess she was kind of lazy. They don't present her in that light until I like how they dole out information about Emma.
Yes,
because we never. It never makes us, sort of judge her or not like her until that moment at the end when Tommy's like, well, Mom, she was lazy.
We talked a little bit about Scott's sexual awakening during The Evening Star. But when I first saw this movie, I was probably in my early teens. We had, we just had a VHS copy of it from, cable or something, and I watched it. And I remember being that young, probably like 13, 14, and watching it and just thinking, okay, Jeff Daniels
can get it.
All right, Jeff Daniels.
Kind of a stealth hottie.
He's and it's like for most of the I don't know. He's cheating on her. He's running around on her,
but he's adorable.
But he's just
You do not care, And guess what? She doesn't care either.
And
she keeps coming back for that Jeff Daniels dick. She wants it.
And there is that scene when baby Melanie's sick and the steam is going, and he's standing there.
That shot him at the door.
Boxers at the door.
Hot. It's super hot.
All steamy, and that 1983 Jeff Daniels body. I'm just like, oh my God. I feel like I might have wore out the pause button.
It was
VCR for that scene.
Did you grow up on Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael?
Winona Ryder.
That was a
with
little.
Winona Ryder.
I never.
Also super cute in that movie too.
Well, my Winona, I go back to Lucas with her.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
So I thought Lucas was super cute, and the boys in that, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and Alec Baldwin and Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Alec Baldwin and Married to the Mob. Hello.
Oh my God.
Have you guys covered that on the show?
Not
yet?
yet.
I would love
He
to
really
do
wants to get to
I would
it.
love to do a Married to the Mob episode.
That's the one where we get the shots of him in the black briefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, Mercedes rule.
Mercedes
should have won the Oscar for that movie.
When
She's
she
great.
fucking destroys those eggs, and she's like, if I ever, and she's like crunching these eggs, and she's holding it. You don't want to fuck with that bitch.
I mean,
It's kind of heavenly.
yeah, totally. But yeah, I have specific memories of Jeff Daniels, and now it's like I see him, and he's got this little like lip curl thing going on, and like even like Jeff Daniels today, and I was like, what was he in, like The Martian or something?
Mm-hmm.
Where
Yeah, I
I'm
think
just
so.
like, okay.
Mars Attacks.
No, it was in The Martian
Okay.
with Matt Damon.
Okay,
like, kind of
that's
recently.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, he's late 50s, early 60s, getting up there, but I'm just like, I don't know. He just has that. He's Flap. He
cute.
just has that cute face.
Flap's adorable.
Yeah,
Filth.
yeah.
Yep.
And Aurora's relationship with Flap, and I love how she just tells Emma, just like, nope,
Yeah.
he's not good enough for you. Like, she doesn't dance around it.
Mm-hmm. That scene where she comes in to her bedroom for that conversation is really, really good.
And she says, don't come to my wedding.
Yeah.
I love at the end when Flap fails Emma
Yeah.
on the deathbed. He's like, "Do you want the girls?"
That's
and
when
she's
it
like,
really,
he's like,
yeah.
"We both know that I don't."
Yeah.
And you see a flicker of disappointment in her
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, "That's okay. Mom should have them anyway."
Yeah. That's the scene.
It's so
yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This movie gets human nature like not many films do.
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
and it's that scene that's right before where Shirley MacLaine is like, "I'm taking the kids."
Yeah.
Because let's be real.
real. Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't handle this. And he's like disagreeing with her of like, "No, I'm the dad," but you can kind of see deep down
Yeah.
he knows that she's right.
But in that scene, I kind
Yeah.
of hoped, I kind of felt
Yeah.
like that he might change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That he might want those kids, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, but real.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, Emma's kind of joking when she says, like, I don't want, what's the girl, the other woman.
Patsy.
No. The woman from the college that he was seeing that
Oh,
she
yeah, I
caught him
forget
with.
her name,
Yeah, she was just like, I don't want her raising
Right.
him or whatever.
She's
And-
awful.
Yeah, she's awful. Just running away, running away from her with the stroller.
How many children got hurt in the making of this movie?
yeah.
That metal stroller that she's in.
There's one child in the stroller,
Hucking
and
her down the
she's
stairs.
chasing him, and then he's got a baby in a baby container that he's holding in front, chasing her through a college campus.
Shaken baby syndrome.
They did not use a fake
No.
baby in that scene.
Shirley MacLaine.
This was the 80s.
And also
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine and the young actor Troy Bishop when
she slaps him across the face.
him and they fully like rustle to the ground.
That was real too.
Mm-hmm. That was real because he swats at her.
Oh, yeah.
And she grabs his hand.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey,
This movie is Douglas Sirk level,
serious.
just melodramatic,
Yeah.
but played in a real way.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, there's that scene where I'm just like, what kind of father is just going to be like, fine, take the kids? But I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure
I
there are
just
plenty
love-
of dads who are just like,
Oh,
okay.
dude, there's a million deadbeat
Okay.
dads.
Yeah.
I love that by the end, Flap is still a fucking loser.
Yeah.
He does not change. There's no arc for him.
I was going to say, I've seen this movie a million times,
Yeah.
and I still expected an arc.
It's a shocker.
And there's
it's a
not.
shocker.
Yeah.
Because you want him to do well. Because he's so cute and sweet.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
And there's a sweetness to Flap.
Mm-hmm.
There is a sweetness and a goodness to him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But, I mean, once he comes to her and says, I want to move us from Iowa to Nebraska
He's an asshole.
for no extra
It's
money.
like, bro, you're moving out of state for a lateral.
That's when you're
job.
like, what the fuck? That's when we were like, wait a minute.
No.
This is something wrong
Something's
here.
wrong here.
Yeah.
He's like, it's head of the department. It's all his ego.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe also the girl. We find out
for
later
sure,
that
it's the
she's
girl,
there.
yeah.
When
Yeah.
they get to Nebraska, she's there. And she's just like, fuck me,
And
dude.
she's so robotic.
Yeah.
Yeah. we talked a little bit about Patsy. I want to talk more about their relationship.
Patsy's an icon.
I was reading that that Kim Basinger was offered this role and turned it down to make another movie.
Okay.
Her loss.
Did you guys read that Sissy Spacek was up for the Debra Winger role?
Sissy Spacek.
It was between Sissy and Deborah.
Wild.
Up until the last minute.
That would have been a completely different.
It would have been a different vibe, but I mean, Sissy's a pretty good actress, so it could have worked.
She's great.
Yeah.
But Deborah, you cannot imagine anyone else.
Yeah.
It's like casting has this like faded quality to it. That you can't, Like I didn't want to cast Rose in Jawbreaker. I was like, that would be too obvious.
Okay.
Sure. A little too on the nose.
Yeah, after seeing her in Doom Generation, I was like, she's done it. And then Scream. And then she got the film financed. And I was like, okay, this is what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And guess what? Now it is.
And now
I kept reading too. Jodie Foster turned down the role of Emma due to commitments to Yale, which I mean, I guess
you can't imagine anyone else.
She feels like No, I guess at that time I was going to say she might have looked a little young, but I don't know. She was doing like The Accused and all that like a couple of years later. So. Patsy looks like Patrick Nagel.
Oh my God!
You
just took the words out of my mouth.
Right.
I love that we have gay telekinesis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like her later scenes when she's. I'm assuming is she like a model? Is she an actress? I think
I don't know, but she's 80. She's rich.
Yeah.
She's not having it.
No. Yeah. And then.
Well, she talks about going out to L.A.
Yeah,
too.
going out to L.A. and like
I like that we don't fill in the blanks with Patsy because you just get it.
Yeah.
From that hairstyle and the lipstick and everything. But she's still there for Emma. She's a good friend.
Yes, she's a great friend. Interesting that there's this kind of thing with Patsy that she wants to raise Melanie.
Yeah.
And only Melanie. It's like, okay.
She wants a doppelganger.
Yeah. There's a lot of...
That's like a horror movie.
It kind of is. There's a lot of little dialogue bits at the end with Melanie where they're just kind of referencing just how beautiful she is. And I guess the idea is that this little girl is just supposed to be just this stunning child.
She really is.
And we get Juliette Lewis later on.
Is Patsy going to want to be like a stage mom and like put her in pageants? I don't know.
that
Juliette Lewis, and also, do you know who they recast as Patsy? It's Miranda Richardson.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But again, the actress...
That's good casting. That makes sense.
It's great casting, but the actress who plays Patsy is a working actress and still working.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why did
super shady?
You know what? There's probably a whole rights issue
I'm sure.
with the actors from the previous that they couldn't use any of them or
Sure.
I don't know what.
Yeah. But yeah, I love their relationship. I love it's that thing where she kind of also has a relationship with Flap. Like he's calling her, he knows Emma's there, so he's calling her, and they talk to. It's like things like that.
Patsy
happen.
brings so much. I don't know. Reality to this movie.
Yeah.
Like the scene when they drive off and Patsy goes to hug Aurora and Aurora just turns on her heels and walks away.
Yeah. Like,
she's such a fucking bitch.
Get away from me. Yep.
Oh yeah, she does that. There are no. I mean, the housekeeper hardly gets. I like that the housekeeper gets some time and some nuance, but ultimately we don't get too.
The
much
housekeeper is also a bigger character in the Evening Star too.
Okay,
and also in the book too.
Yeah. I would love to read this book now. I really want to read Terms of Endearment, the book.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Larry McMurtry wrote it.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And
he must be a homosexual, right?
Larry,
because
he did Brokeback Mountain.
Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah.
I always find that wild. That Lonesome
he adapted.
Dove.
He adapted
it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that he won an Oscar for adapting it.
Oh yeah.
I think that does Patsy have an affair with someone in the book?
I didn't read the books.
I think that she has an affair with
Flap.
With Flap. I may be making that up.
Okay, wait. Can we have a moment to talk about John Lithgow in this?
Oh
yeah. this like sad dopey performance.
Oh my god! It is the saddest character ever. It's like this woman has such little self-esteem.
Serious.
I don't know why she sleeps with John Lithgow. I mean, maybe what does that say to you? I don't know.
I mean,
it feels real though.
It feels real, and it's just that I don't know if it's just that thing that it's the attention that she's not getting.
She knows that her husband's having an affair, and she's just going to fuck this guy.
Yeah, because he's there. Because he's there,
and he just offered himself up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you can tell she doesn't have any real attraction to him.
No, yeah. He's like 1.5 feet taller than her. He's just like a goofy John Lithgow.
It did make me want to revisit The World According to Garp to see him as that trans character.
Yeah. I have not seen that
I have never seen The World.
Oh, you guys will have to watch
According
that.
to Garp. I need to watch that.
Movie night.
I haven't seen it in a long time. So
I was reading that also John Lithgow sort of made this movie when he was on break from doing Footloose.
Interesting.
Like, I think that he did this in like a weekend.
I cannot believe Footloose was the same time as this.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
You know, the timeline of this movie is also very interesting because
Sure. What year is it set when it opens with Debra Winger?
The ending of the movie is the present of 1983, I would imagine, and the oldest son, Tommy, looks about 11 or 12.
I love that at the end, Tommy gets a really nice bonding moment with the Jack Nicholson character.
Yeah.
And he seems happy. And Jack's like, come over to the house. He's like, I can't leave a funeral. And Jack's like, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
And they leave. And then we see Shirley just looking at them and she's happy.
Yeah.
And Shirley, and I like that it ends with just her smiling.
Yeah.
Even though she's in mourning garb, and she looks probably the most glamorous that she looks in the entire. That last shot of her in all black with his big sunglasses is such high glamour.
Yeah. So
And she smiles and she's happy, and it's like, you know that there's going to be some hope for these people.
Yeah. Because I mean, now this is their life. Now they like just live.
Because guess what? Tommy's not going to have fun living with Aurora. We know that already. That's going to be a fucking hellhole.
When they, when she gets upgraded to the private room in the hospital, and she tells the like men hanging the art, be careful with that. They're worth more than you'll make in your entire life.
I love that moment.
And she says, I had to grow up with her. You can deal with it for 5 minutes. You're just like, oh shit. We forget because they have this insane relationship where she's just like, she literally did not go to her wedding, calls her the morning after, and she's just like, I'm not talking to you. I'm having a fight with you. Did you see what I got? Did you see the presents that I got? Did you see this blanket? Did you see this? And just starts gossiping with her right away.
Because they actually have a very beautiful, caring relationship.
Yeah,
but it's very It's also very toxic.
Very toxic, very codependent.
But Debra Winger rolls with it.
Yeah,
like, you know what's funny? I don't feel any toxic codependency in this movie, on Debra Winger's side at least.
Right.
I feel like Debra is such a joyous, happy person. I mean, Emma, the character.
Yeah.
She tells her mom about John Lithgow.
Yeah.
So they're very open with each other. They tell each other everything.
Yeah.
I think they have a very loving, beautiful.
Yeah.
This, you know what I thought at the end of this movie last night? This is a love story between a mother and a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that in codependent relationships, that love is not healthy.
Yeah.
This love in this movie feels healthy to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Totally.
It does. And it's in those little conversations that you get where we're kind of not getting a lot of like context, but we're just seeing them in the moment, because this movie does time skip a lot. You know, all of a sudden she's pregnant again. All of a sudden, you know, the kids have aged up and all of that. So we're not getting, you know, we get these little conversations that just kind of clue us into what's been going on.
If this movie were to be made today, it would have been a series.
Yeah.
It would be
literally a 10 episode hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the magic of why it works as a feature.
Yeah.
Because if we got into that nuance, I don't know how healthy the relationship would have come off. It would have been much more, I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe we would resent Aurora more for being as kind of like sharp or as kind of pointed as she is, as she can be, and we resent Emma a little bit more for being as I don't know,
a pushover.
Yeah, or just I was going to say a little flazé-da, like especially when it comes to the kids, you know, and things like that.
The one part about
forgive her for certain things.
The one part about the relationship that I can definitely relate to is that I moved away from home when I was 18, and I've pretty much have had my relationship with my siblings and my sister, or my siblings and my mom through the telephone. Of that, I've never lived in the same city as my mom, that I've had to have this relationship through the phone. And you can definitely see that with them, of when she moves out of state, that she still keeps up, and they probably get along better with their phone relationship than it would be in person. So that's something that kind of, when I reflect of like living my life away from home, when I kind of gravitate to the movie, is just sort of having a relationship with a loved one pretty much exclusively through a phone call. Yeah.
It captures the phone relationship really beautifully.
Yeah.
And that's now history. People don't do that now.
No.
It's either texting or what, Facebook or Zoom or something?
Yeah.
I mean, FaceTime?
Yeah.
Sorry.
FaceTime. Yeah.
Facebook. I'm not 50.
I'm
not 50. FaceTime. Yeah. Curling up. Because in the 80s, people, or 90s even, people would curl up that phone.
Yeah. Because a lot of those scenes, Aurora would have the phone on her lap and, those big clunky phones, And
it was a surrogate.
Yeah. And Emma's just like walking around with it everywhere.
Their scenes on the phone. They're on the phone first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love too when she finally does leave Flap and she takes the kids and they all jump out of the car and are hugging, the maid and Aurora. And Aurora kind of brushes by Emma and she's kind of like, what the hell? And she tells her, I talk to you every day. I talk to you every day. Like I'm going to hug my grandsons, And it's just like, they do. They talk to you
what's
every
beautiful?
day.
It's like, how can it be codependent when each person is equally passionate about the other?
Sure.
Like I feel like both characters are so passionate about the other that they can transgress somehow and still love each other.
Yeah.
And make a joke and get the phone the next morning and just like talk about the gossip.
Yeah. But the petty things sometimes were just a little bit more. I mean, because in that first scene when she says like, well, if that's your attitude, I don't think you should go to my wedding. And this is the start of the movie. We don't know these characters yet. And you're like, okay, these are just things that you say in a moment. And
turns out she didn't actually go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, the brilliance of this movie, they don't go through the motions of showing the wedding and her looking around. It's just next
This
morning.
movie is so lean and mean.
Yeah.
Narratively.
Yeah.
Also, lean and mean and narratively, but they don't cut away of Debra Winger dying, which I think is like, holy
love
shit.
that.
Yeah.
It's just like, in like another movie, they would have like like a fadeaway of like them like making up the bed or like something that kind of holds your hand a little bit. But you see her die on camera in this movie.
That gives me everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to shirk. I mean, the death is beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful moment. And I love that Flap's asleep. And that moment happens between the mother and the daughter.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and you see the nurse go over and turn off the machine.
It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, you guys. but God bless James L. Brooks to like fucking show that whole thing on camera.
Yeah. And like Scott's saying, we're watching the movie and it's not like we're counting down the minutes or anything, but he's thinking like, oh man, we haven't even gotten to, the cancer scenes and all that. And I forgot about it. Like I said, I'm just like, oh shit, I forgot. She straight up dies later on. But when she is sick and, she has her like little New York adventure and all of that, it's that thing where she kind of makes peace with it really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never sense that character is scared.
Yeah. Not until the very, very end.
Yeah.
When it's like, okay.
Ugh. It's brutal.
Yeah. When she has that final conversation with the doctor where he's like, okay, you need to start making decisions.
That's a hard scene.
Yeah. That's when she really gets scared.
And she cries.
The first time.
She cries by herself.
Yeah.
That's a really brutal scene.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, this movie does not shy away from the brutality or the humor, the crazy humor.
Yeah.
Maybe we should like talk about Jack Nicholson. And that
I was going to say we should probably segue into Jack.
Let's not dwell on the topic.
Very, very clever casting. And from what I was reading, James L. Brooke wrote this movie for Bert. For Bert,
right.
And Bert turned it down. And Bert says to this day, I mean, he's no longer with us, but probably until the day that he died, probably regretted saying no to this movie.
Bert doesn't have anything as emotional as this movie. Jack is so perfect for this because he's cute, but he's also kind of like grotesque.
There's kind of a skeezy charm to him.
Yeah, like when he tries to seduce her, and when they're looking at the Rembrandt, and she's like, "Don't do that with me. I am a grandmother." And in the beginning, she's like, "I'm a grandmother." Yeah, with DeVito.
Yeah.
I also love the dated thing of an astronaut who's a celebrity because that is definitely not a thing anymore.
It was,
and it has not been a thing for decades.
That
at this
would now
point.
be like an Instagram influencer or like a TikTok.
But movie set in Houston, kind of like Mission Control. So NASA's a big part of just sort of the cultural of Houston.
I love that this movie's also an older woman's sexual awakening.
Yeah.
I mean,
when do you ever see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never.
Absolutely. It's also so interesting to see, we're trying to gauge it, and we're watching this movie, and we're thinking, okay, maybe when Emma and Flap got married, maybe they were 21, right? And then a couple of years go by, she has a kid, and then as the scenes are going by and time's going by, we see Aurora's 50th birthday. And you're just like, wow, you don't really see that kind of small age gap with mothers and daughters anymore that you did back,
No, it's really wild.
And you're like, she's 50 and she's a grandmother. Like, that's why she was so upset about why should I be happy about being a grandmother? Because at that point, she wasn't even 50. I think that was before the 50th birthday.
It's wild.
So, yeah. And the doctor saying, like, you're actually 52.
Yeah, because you see these men courting her, and the men.
Oh my God, we're obsessed with the men.
These men that are in love with Aurora.
All these men that are in love with Aurora. I mean, you get like Danny
and she
DeVito.
just keeps them hanging on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keeps inviting them to parties, and they keep
guess
going.
What? She could get it. Shirley MacLaine is hot.
Absolutely.
Her body's incredible.
Yes.
She always has like top and bottom lashes on.
Yeah. She's got that like clip-in hairpiece.
That scene, I think that's probably my favorite scene of the entire movie. Is when he picks her up and she comes out, and the top on the convertible, top's in the garage.
Well, what he says to her, like, "Oh, do you want me to put the top up?" And she says, "No, mature women are prepared for all circumstances."
And then she puts on her handkerchief on her head, and then she gets her hair blown all over the place.
Oh my God,
it's amazing! And when they crash the car into the water, and she gets wet, and he flies in the water. The physical comedy in this movie is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, and they play off each other so well. And you think Aurora is one type of woman, like you said, she's just so like beautiful in these dresses and the hair and everything. But like when it comes down to it, she jumps into the water with Jack, and
she's a Southern belle who can get down.
Yeah.
And she gets in the water, and then she has sex with him, and she gets off on it, and celebrates it, and she's like loving it, and then she's like has to admit that she's beginning to care about him.
Yeah,
and I like that on that date you sort of see that arc too of that, like, I can't stand this guy, and then at the end, she invites him up into the bedroom. So yeah,
I love when you see her preparing for that bed.
Oh my God,
bed. She puts on that negligee. She goes into her underwear drawer, and then she's taking out the potpourri. All the details are crazy.
Yeah, but like she's got this like robe thing over the like negligee, and she's like looking at herself in the mirror. And then when he finally does ring the doorbell, which she told him not to do, she like immediately like closes the robe and just like stands there with her arms crossed, and like her body language changes until he gets into the room, and then they just start having their conversation and all of that.
And then he walks in, though. He's wearing a short bathing suit, and his belly is hanging out. He just got out of the pool, so he's kind of somewhat sexy. I guess. And at least we know he's clean, and he was in the pool.
Yeah, we see a lot of...
Because Aurora is puffed, powdered, and ready to go.
Ready. We see a lot of Jack in a shorty robe. He loved a shorty robe.
Yeah, when he comes out... when she rings the doorbell, taking him up on that dinner date that he made to her, like, 3 years ago. But his little shorty short.
Yeah, his cool, like, super 80s, like, bathing suit. Like,
and I was watching an interview that Shirley did where she talked about filming that scene, and she said Jack did the take different each time. Yeah. That he came up in one take with like a hooker, came out naked in another one, but he would always do something different to keep her.
Like, there's a scene when he grabs her ass, and then if you watch, she grabs his right back.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell that was both those moments were improvised.
I think when he feels her up after when they're in the water, I think that's also improvised.
When his hand gets stuck, and I'm just like, why is his hand stuck? It's not stuck, but
it's hilarious.
It's a funny scene. Yeah. They play off each other so well, and it's like it could, and it's one of those things where it's like, who else could it have been?
The chemistry between all the actors in this movie is really just something to behold.
Yeah. And I feel like Burt Reynolds might, he definitely would have played it very different than Jack Nicholson, and so it would have come across a little different. And he's like, I think he's taller than Jack, so it might have, looked a little icky if he's like, like being too handsy with her, things like that. So it's like it's just such this perfect chemistry of these people.
He made a statement: there are no awards in Hollywood for being an idiot when he recalls turning down the role.
Oh, there you go.
I'm also seeing, according to IMDb, Harrison Ford and Paul Newman also said no.
Interesting.
Harrison Ford.
I guess Harrison Ford would have gone for a sexy astronaut. I guess
it's a little May December. A little May December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, too sexy.
Paul Newman, I guess, would have worked, but I think that there's just something about Jack that lends itself to this type of man a little better.
Can we talk about the score in this movie?
Oh man,
yeah. Pete and I always get the score confused with Steel Magnolias, just because they sort of
you get it confused with Steel Magnolias. I think it sounds like St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah.
Well, the guy who did the score for Terms of Endearment, I think his name is Michael Gore. He also did the score for St. Elmo's Fire.
There you go.
Yep.
And then the score for Steel Magnolias, I believe, is this really famous French composer, whose name is escaping me right now. But they both have very beautiful scores.
Yeah,
but the Terms score,
it's iconic.
It is so fucking iconic.
Yeah,
and can make you cry at the drop of a top. Immediately, I don't know.
It knows exactly what it's doing.
It's super manipulative. But
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
We're totally here for it.
And you don't get scores like that now.
No, never. And it just puts you in the mood for you're going to watch this. I don't know. It's just there's just something about it that brings you in.
Like scores in the 80s were allowed to be a character.
Yes.
Just as a location can be a character.
Yeah.
Or, a costume or the production design. This score is laying on top of this movie.
Yeah.
But in a very beautiful way that I'm here for.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure modern scores have themes and motifs and character themes and all that.
Not like this.
But not like this.
This is sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
This is and then a friend on Instagram this morning was like, oh, well, I listened to that movie driving around on my bike. And I was like, wait, do you record the audio of the movie? He's like, no, the soundtrack. And I thought to myself, this is not a soundtrack I would listen to outside of the movie.
Yeah. I feel like I need everything to go along with it. That's interesting.
Whereas, and I love scores.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm really into Angelo Badalamenti.
Right.
For the Twin Peaks, for his Lynch stuff. Or, even in the modern context, Emile Mosseri, who did the score for Minari, and I'm getting it really
Sure.
It's a beautiful score. I just like sad music.
Oh yeah,
this music has too much joy for me. There's joy in this.
Yeah, we just did a Mulholland Drive episode, and we were talking about
another great score that sort of mixes ambient noise.
We were talking about Angelo Badalamenti, and I brought up the fact that there is a version of the Twin Peaks theme song with lyrics.
Wow.
And it's amazing. And it's sung by Julie Cruz.
Yeah, Julie Cruz's death recently really kind of rocked me.
Yeah.
Because the Angelo Badalamenti soundtracks, whether it's Blue Velvet, Mulholland, Twin Peaks, they all are soundtracks to my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Julie Cruz, there would be no Lana Del Rey without Julie Cruz.
You're absolutely
I am
right.
so sorry.
And the children don't.
They will never know.
They don't know.
No.
Oh my God.
As far as I'm concerned, David Lynch invented on Lana Del Rey. She is a figment out of David Lynch's imagination.
I was going to say she sprung forth out of
she did.
I don't know, the clouds in his coffee. We're like a Greek
it's true
story. This score is it's so iconic. The minute the movie started, we were just like, okay, everything just comes together right away. You're just we get that great early scene of Aurora and the baby, and then
the sad
goes.
It's funny because the sad music in this movie is so beautiful too. It reminds me of a John Williams score for E.T.
Okay, yeah.
The sad music when E.T. dies, that sad music is beautiful. It's not just sad, but it's beautiful.
Yeah,
there's sort of a humaneness to the tragedy, which I think is really nice.
Yeah. Let's see. We talked Jack. We talked Patsy.
Yeah, I do think this movie should have triple supporting actor nominated. I would have liked to have seen Jeff Daniels make the cut.
Oh, totally.
He should have made the cut.
He's incredible.
Over John Lithgow.
He's incredible. Wait, was John Lithgow nominated for this movie?
John Lithgow's nominated.
But he doesn't even have the screen time.
He was nominated though. Yeah.
8 minutes of this movie. That's crazy.
He does not have the screen time for that.
Yeah. What the heck? I didn't even know that.
Yep.
That's funny.
How about Emma's obsession with show tunes?
Yeah, the Ethel Merman song. Uh-huh.
And at one point, she's listening to West Side Story
When
she and Flap are about to have sex in their new place on the ground. And he's like, do we have to listen to this while we have sex? And she's like, yep.
Yes,
like she's the top in that relationship.
Just a theater kid at heart. And who knows, like maybe if we wouldn't have had Flap, maybe this character would have wanted to become an actress.
Yeah, but it's fun. But in the very beginning of this movie, I would say the inciting incident is her getting married.
Yeah.
It's her trying to escape her mother.
She's trying to escape
so
her,
from the very beginning of this movie, this human being is needing to get away, assert herself, and have independence from her mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she can never... They can never escape each other.
Yeah.
But it's not in a healthy way. It's in a beautiful kind of way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love with the Rembrandt, she's like, well, I was thinking of giving you the Rembrandt for your wedding, but I'm like, I just can't part with it. You know?
Right?
Yeah. When Emma calls Aurora to ask for money,
and she can't give it to her.
That dialogue is
brutal.
insane.
And I feel like we've all sort of had conversations with parents like that. Too.
You know how much I hate parting with money.
Yeah.
Aurora makes literally no bones about it.
I will not use my Rembrandt to make rent.
To pay the rent.
To pay the rent.
And P.S., where is Aurora's money from?
Yeah.
That is some old... That's old money.
That is old money. Yeah.
You don't just have a Rembrandt.
To have Rosie, the maid, in uniform... For all those years.
And you're living next to an astronaut.
Yeah,
it's like,
this neighborhood.
You know, living next to a basketball star.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
Well, they set up early on that the husband dies.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
because Emma's basically living in squalor this whole movie.
Yeah, she
I mean, the dad, Flap is just making, you know...
He's a teacher. Yeah, he's a teacher in a college, but he's an associate professor.
Yeah, and you never get the sense that Aurora gives them anything, any help whatsoever.
No. Because when they first moved to the house in Des Moines, and she's just like, it's a house, because they were just living above a garage before in this like condemned building. And even us, we were like, wow, that's a great house.
Yeah.
You know? But then later on, Tommy's just like, I don't want people to think we live there. Because it's like run down or maybe the neighborhood or whatever. And Tommy's like, no, I don't want people to think we live in that shack. But you're like, to us, we're like, it's great. It's such an upgrade. But yeah.
But you get the sense if Emma had made life choices that Aurora approved of, Aurora would have helped her out.
Oh, absolutely.
But because Emma rebelled from day one, Aurora's like,
you get nothing.
And it's interesting how the Rembrandt comes back into play at the end of the movie when she's in the hospital room. Aurora hangs both of those expensive pieces of art across from the hospital bed.
Yeah, right in front of
No, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sad, too, because she never got to enjoy that money during life, I guess.
Yeah.
But did she need that? I don't get the sense that character needed the money to enjoy life. I think she enjoyed her life.
I mean, it seemed
I don't know.
like
What do you guys think?
There was problems at home, and there was, she didn't have enough money at the grocery store and all of that. But I don't know. It didn't feel like when she would have her conversations with Aurora or even with Patsy, who her best friend her whole life doesn't have any money problems.
And there's always those moments with the kids where she gets a candy bar and she gets
She gave them the candy bar.
She gets the eye from the clerk.
You're going in the wrong direction.
You're going in the wrong direction, and then she grabs another one for the other boy.
That sequence is
love it.
I would say it's a showstopper.
Yeah.
Similar to the Give My Daughter the Shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So good.
I mean, Give My Daughter the Shot.
Oh my God. And just how she just like sort of runs around the room.
She does not have to be in pain.
Yeah.
It's just such a beautiful fucking thing.
And then it's like afterwards when the nurse gets up and goes into the room, and Aurora just kind of like stops and like composes herself. She's
all right.
Excuse me. It is after 10. Give my daughter the pain shot, please.
Mrs. Greenway, I was going to.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
In just a few minutes.
Well, please, it's after 10. It's after 10. I don't see why she has to have this pain.
Ma'am, it's not my patient.
It's time for her shot. You understand? Do something. All she has to do is hold out until 10. And it's past 10. She's in pain. My daughter is in pain. Give her the shot. You understand?
You're going to behave.
Give my daughter the shot. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And like we're talking about Steel Magnolias, it's like Sally Field has that scene, and she's got the big scene and all of that, and it's heart wrenching, and Sally's amazing. But I don't know, something about these moments in this movie that are just like
this movie is stripped fucking bare.
Yeah.
Aside from the Michael Gore score, which I love, this movie shouldn't work.
Yeah, it shouldn't work.
And it's aged beautifully.
Yeah,
I can't believe I can watch this, in 2022.
It's like you would never describe this movie as overly sentimental.
No.
Yeah.
It's like it's too raw for that.
Yeah. One thing I love, it's kind of speaking a little bit about the age of the movie, but it also speaks a lot to Emma's character when she is hanging out with Patsy and Flap calls, and it's this huge cordless phone, and Patsy hands her the phone,
and she looks
at it and laughs, and she's like, "Oh my god!"
I love it. Emma never values material things.
No.
When she's in New York, she's like, "Fuck these women.
Yeah.
These are miserable, neurotic people." And she dies young and everything, but she lived. She lived authentically. I mean, she really did.
And I feel, she's around all these cosmopolitan women in New York, and she just kind of is in her mom clothes, just like these big skirts, and
she stays frumpy this whole movie. And I was here for it.
I love it.
I like her.
I love her wardrobe.
I do too.
The glasses, I love it. Everything.
It is fashion.
It really is.
I like Emma. I like Emma by the pool.
Oh,
in her bandana.
I love the bandana, the little bathing suit.
Emma when she jumps on her mother to hug her.
Yeah.
In those glasses.
Yeah.
I don't know. Debra Winger is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I just need to use the word fucking there.
No, that's okay.
I really feel passionate.
Yeah.
I feel, and please, go rewatch, Urban fucking Cowboy.
Yeah.
And see how genius she is in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. It's just like this handful of movies from the early 80s, and she never really kind of... I don't know if it was a retirement thing or
I remember it being a big deal when she was cast in Rachel Getting Married.
Oh, right.
That she was playing Anne Hathaway's mother, who is a very salty character.
I have to revisit that. I saw Rachel Getting Married at the ArcLight.
Okay.
Oh, R.I.P. ArcLight.
R.I.P. It was fine.
She's given she has like the big sort of showdown with Anne Hathaway in that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like her. Yep.
The filmmaker to me who's closest to getting this tone right is Noah Baumbach.
Sure.
I mean, fucking Squid and the Whale.
Squid and the Whale. Yeah. Marriage Story. Yep.
But the one I love is the Nicole Kidman.
I just revisited
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I just revisited Margot at the Wedding.
So good.
I don't think that it's my favorite Nicole Kidman, but I would say it's the most underrated Nicole Kidman.
It is the most.
Yep.
Down and dirty Nicole Kidman. That character is fucking warts and all.
And there's that scene where they're playing croquet and she stomps away and throws it down. She says, "I hate what games do to me," and that is just like encapsulates the character. Is I hate what playing games does to me,
and the toxicity of her character, and that is so real. Whereas the toxicity in Aurora, there's levity to it. It's not the humor. I don't know, but I do feel like Noah Baumbach does the comedy and drama very well.
Okay,
we'll see what he adds to the Barbie movie.
I don't know. Aren't you curious about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about it.
It's so fascinating.
What is that going to be?
So fascinating.
I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of the Brady Bunch movie and Legally Blonde. I mean,
but just with those two at the helm, it's just like what?
I'm like a man in my 30s that still collects Barbies, so I am here for it.
I'm totally here for it.
But I think, those two. I will never forget, we're just sitting here watching A League of Their Own one night and scrolling through the IMDb trivia to this little gem that said, Debra Winger is cast and quits A League of Their Own because she doesn't want to work with Madonna.
Yep.
Wow.
And she was cast in the Gina Davis lead role.
Okay, that's outrageous.
And walked away. Again, IMDb trivia, so take it with a grain of salt.
I kind of believe it, though.
I believe it. Because Debra Winger is literally in another dimension actor-wise.
Yeah.
And to have her and Madonna sharing the screen, it just wouldn't compute.
Yeah.
I mean, Debra knew that.
Yeah.
But also it was Madonna's first movie. Right?
I mean,
was it?
Desperately Seeking Susan.
That's right.
and Who's
There's
That
a
Girl?
handful of those 80s movies.
That's right. And I got to say, I fucking love Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yes, Desperately Seeking Susan is great.
I mean, I don't think
That's Madonna's best movie.
It really is.
I mean, I don't think that she had. I don't think that she had I mean, she was focusing on music prior to A League of Their Own, so she hadn't really acted in a while. So
yeah, it had been a minute, and those were kind of like she had some Desperately Seeking Susan, but then she had some failures. Like Who's That Girl was not great, and Shanghai Surprise was just awesome.
But I love that Madonna was good enough for Warren.
I mean, hey,
Shirley MacLaine's brother. How funny are those?
Wow, look
lines?
at that.
There's a full circle moment.
wait a minute.
I always forget about that.
Warren Beatty and Shirley MacLaine
Our brother and
sister. How did I not know
How
this?
did you not know
Give me
that?
your gay card.
That's so weird.
Your gay card's getting revoked.
I was going to mention it too last night, and I forgot. I was
but it's interesting because you don't hear a lot about it. Maybe it's just because both of them are such powerhouses that you don't really think of them like sharing.
And they don't share
together.
a last name.
I did not know that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So that means that her sister-in-law is Annette Bening.
Wow. What is that relationship like?
Sure.
At barbecues and like cookouts, they just hang out.
Have you guys read? And then Annette and Warren have a trans son, which I love. Have you guys read any of Shirley MacLaine's sort of like spiritual books?
What was her big book from the 80s?
Past Lives.
Out on the ledge. Out on a ledge. Out on a limb. One of those two.
They're all past life stuff.
Yeah,
I have
all the
not
past
read
life
them.
stuff. Yeah.
I get into that shit. So
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
Shirley. She was witchy and like esoteric, metaphysical before it was in fashion.
Oh, absolutely. She got dragged through the whole.
Yeah, there is like when you watch
Letterman,
Golden Girls, there's always like
Golden Girls jokes,
a kooky Shirley MacLaine joke in there. I
Yeah.
always remember the story that she told. I think that she told on Rosie of when she won the Oscar for Best Actress, and the night before she had a dream that she won. And everybody from the dream was sitting exactly where they were in the theater. Like this was probably like the Shrine at the time. So that's when she knew that she was going to win.
That's a trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she gets up there and she says something that actresses today would be roasted for. She said, I deserve this.
Wow.
She said, I deserve this.
She said, I deserve this. Which now it's like, I mean, people gave Anne Hathaway's speech a lot of shit when that happened of just sort of trying to make an Oscar moment, but Shirley did deserve it.
Yeah.
She really did.
She wrote Out on a Limb, and it was released in 1983. My grandmother read it. And
what did your grandmother have to say about it? Anything?
Fascinated. She loved it, and she loved this movie. My mom and my grandmother loved this.
I'm
movie.
very here for your mom and your grandmother being so into this movie.
Oh my god, they were
And I
all
could see,
about it.
I could see your mom and grandmother having a very Emma and Aurora relationship with each other too.
Absolutely.
The little that I know about your grandma,
Absolutely.
and the very brief time that I knew her, I could kind of see that. with both of them.
Oh, it absolutely makes a ton of sense.
It's very interesting that there's no homosexual characters in this movie.
Maybe Tommy, maybe the younger one.
But I love, that is why I'm curious if Larry McMurtry is gay.
Sure. Yeah.
He is the writer. He adapted the book.
Yeah.
Or the person who wrote he wrote the book.
Yeah.
No, he wrote the book that this movie's based on. That's crazy.
That's wild.
So,
Robert Harling.
I keep forgetting the younger brother's name.
He directed the Evening
He directed
Star.
the sequel. Yeah.
Directed the sequel. I wonder what kind of a mother Aurora would be with a gay son.
I don't know.
Yeah, would she try to talk him out of it?
Well, or would she just be like the very protective like mother to him? I don't know.
I do feel like this movie's infused with a certain gayness, whether it's Flap's cuteness or like the show tunes or Aurora's, diva-ness.
Yeah.
There's definitely, or the humor certainly is pretty,
So I was looking at the top grossing movies of 1983. This is the second highest grossing movie of 1983.
This was number one for several weeks when it came out.
Yeah. It's just like, now it's like, I mean, this ain't no like superhero movie.
Culture is trash.
I mean, it came runner up to The Return of the Jedi.
What?
So I looked up the highest grossing movies of 1983, Return of the Jedi, Terms of Endearment, Flashdance. Another movie that we need to cover on the show.
But that's a bona fide. That's a bona fide banger.
Yeah. Trading Places, War Games, Octopussy. So, I mean, I guess that you get a few.
You had a James Bond.
You get like a few
had a
big
Star
IP
Wars.
movies.
Trading Places is a major sort of like fish out of water. You know,
Yeah.
it's a buddy movie. It's like a Brett Ratner movie of the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Eddie Murphy was like hot rising.
Dude, Trading Places.
star.
I remember loving as a kid and watching it a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't revisited it as an adult.
Oh no!
I don't think
not
I've ever seen
in a
Trading
million
Places.
years.
Yeah.
But it was that movie that
I
we
did love
loved,
it.
and then it was
Wasn't
just
Jamie
like,
Lee Curtis in it? I think so.
Yeah, that's the one she's in. I always get 48 Hours in Trading Places. She's in Trading Places. Yeah.
Sudden Impact, number 7. Staying Alive, and one of those things that I kind of assumed that Staying Alive like tanked, but I mean apparently it made like $64 million. So with inflation, that's probably over $100 million. Mr. Mom, love Mr. Mom. Also. Michael Keaton, kind of a stealth hottie dad in that movie.
Totally.
And then Risky Business.
Oh, okay.
We just did a revisit of Risky
That is
Business.
a really good top 10.
Does
What a
Risky
year,
Business
too.
hold up? Have you?
You did the I think I fell asleep.
I think I fell asleep sort of towards the end. The score of Risky Business is really beautiful. It's not Angelus. It's Tangerine Dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tangerine Dream. Yeah, they did Near Dark,
Legend.
Legend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Near Dark we've had on the DVR for like 3 years.
Okay.
And I'm like, keep having to get this one to watch
guys,
it. And I
Near
keep
Dark is
not watching
everything.
I know.
A dear friend of mine,
Paxton?
Josh Miller, plays the boy vampire.
Oh, okay.
Josh was the little gay boy in Teen Witch.
oh,
we
sure.
love him. Yeah.
I was like, it's not your birthday, Rose.
What does he say about the homework? Here's your homework.
Freshly ironed.
Freshly ironed. Yeah.
He was a little gay diva, and
Love it.
I'm so in awe. And when I was a kid growing up,
That's right. He is in Near Dark. I forgot.
when I was a kid in the 80s, Near Dark and River's Edge were two very impactful things for me.
Yes.
And Josh was also Keanu's little brother in River's Edge.
Yeah.
And he's in River's Edge, he's androgynous. You can't. You see the first shot of him, you're like, is that a boy or a girl? And he's dropping his sister's doll into the river. And then in Near Dark, he's like this fucking badass androgynous old man trapped in a little boy's body, vampire, and he's a full-on diva in Near Dark, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
That character in Teen Witch is such a trip, just because it's so much fun to just
wild.
see these kooky, this kooky performance by this child, and I feel like children never sort of get that range.
They don't let kids do that
to
kind
play
of stuff
crazy.
anymore.
No, flaming children are not allowed to flame out on camera. You rarely see, and in Teen Witch, you got to see that, and then in Near Dark and River's Edge, you see that too, in darker ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And I loved him in that, and I related to him, and now we're very dear friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've been friends for 25 years.
Oh, that's
As a matter of
great.
fact, he was the one who brought Rose McGowan to Los Angeles.
Oh.
Because Rose was an extra in Class of 1999 with Pam Grier that
Get out.
Josh is also in.
I saw that in the theater.
Yeah, and Josh and back then Josh was straight, and Rose was gorge, and he brought her to LA.
Wow. That's amazing.
Very weird.
I feel like on How Did This Get Made or something, somebody said that he was in the Pussy Posse for a while.
He is. He's
fully in the Pussy Posse.
He's just sort of child renegade actor.
No, he was close with Tobey Maguire,
Yeah.
and he dated. He's in that documentary about the 90s,
Kid 90,
which we love.
Soleil Moon Frye made.
Yeah.
I love that documentary.
It's so good.
Yeah, that movie's a trip.
We're sitting there watching in our old apartment, watching Kid 90, and I'm just like, these are all my friends.
Right?
I don't know any of them, but they're all my buddies. I grew up with all of them.
Totally.
So good. Watch Kid 90, listeners. It's on Hulu. We got to watch it again.
It's an incredible time capsule.
It really is. Oh, man. But I think that Teddy, the youngest brother in this movie, they go through a lot of pains to show how much in love he is with baby Melanie.
Yeah,
he asks if he can hold her. He's the one that comes into the room and says Melanie's sick. He's leaning over her and playing with her in the playpen, and she's like, "Don't kiss the baby. The baby's still sick." And he's holding her hand and kisses her little hand. Little Teddy is just in love with the baby, and for a little kid that age to be that, over the moon.
She's got a maternal instinct, honey.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that might be a little teeny 1983. We're going to throw this in there.
And he's very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
style.
He's the one that's just that little
Sensitive.
face when he's crying.
Sensitive code word for gay of the 80s.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my takeaway.
I feel that.
Okay. We got to have at least one gay character in there. And I mean,
And he's adorable.
and he's so cute.
Yeah.
That little haircut.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Patsy's probably experimented in
No,
the work.
yeah, for sure.
Oh,
no,
sure.
With
Patsy,
those bored housewives.
Patsy and Emma fully hooked up when they were teenagers.
I think they did. I think
Fully.
they
Oh, yeah.
experimented.
They've,
yeah.
they've
Yeah.
at least made out.
all
Oh,
that,
for sure.
all that
For
weed.
sure.
Yeah. Listening to Mary Martin.
No
Mary
question.
Martin. I love when she says it's Mary Martin and just how pissed off Emma. This is Ethel Merman. That raspy Debra Winger voice. But yeah, I think Patsy and her definitely have a history.
There's it's just such an interesting androgyny to Debra Winger because of that voice. And, you know, she and MacLaine are both Tauruses.
Okay.
Taurus women can be, Kate Blanchett's a Taurus. They can be divas.
Sure.
It is the first earth sign. They are here
Sure.
to apprehend our material world. They are good with money. They're good with things. They are strong. It's a very grounded, strong,
Yeah.
intense, sexually charged sign. And I think there's something just intrinsically gay about a mother-daughter where both of them are sort of divas
Sure.
in their own ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And I read an article about this or an interview or something where Winger said that she based her character off of a Norman Rockwell painting.
Okay.
She felt like Emma comes out of a Norman Rockwell painting, dresses like one, acts like one, and has the goodness and earnestness of that world. Because in that tracks. Because what other kind of character could cope with a mother and hold space for a narcissist like Aurora?
Yeah. It's very interesting how fleshed out these characters are and how they have fully formed lives, and down to things like her wardrobe and how Emma's presented to us. And it's like Debra Winger is a beautiful woman, but I think the whole time in this movie, like with her hair and she's never she doesn't get the chance to be glamorous like Aurora or like Patsy. Yeah. She's a mom, or even on her wedding day. It's the early 70s, quote unquote. But that dress is a little Holly Hobby. It's up to her chin. She's completely
and
covered.
The biggest memory of the dress, the biggest moment the dress has in the movie is when Flap,
when it's over her head. Yep,
Flap throws it over her head and goes down on her.
Here comes the bride,
and she's like, "Where did you learn that?" Certainly not in a Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah, yeah. When I first watched this movie and she said, "Here comes the bride," and I was watching this alone, I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my God."
Debra Winger's performance, there is not a strip of vanity about that performance.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why it works so well. Like she does not give she is putting it all out there.
Yeah.
And from the wigs to the hair, the emotions, it's all on the table.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so unique of a performance and unique of just these characters when you watch it, because you can feel that. It doesn't feel acted.
Whereas
at all.
Feel contrived.
Yeah.
Everything is rooted in reality.
Yeah, and that's why I simply could not accept Steel Magnolias. And you guys are going to get so much blowback for that probably, from the gays. From the gays.
No, but it's like,
but it's the context in which you see movies, the age, and the emotional experience.
Yeah. No, but you watch this and you watch Debra Winger, and it's like, God bless Julia, but she's not doing anywhere near
Julia
the
Roberts,
work
so fascinating
in
that Julia Roberts is from the South. She's from Georgia. But yet when she does Southern accents in movies, it sounds like she's doing a bad Southern accent in movies.
I think Julia gives a more emotional, nuanced performance in Mystic Pizza.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something about like Shelby and all that. It's just, I don't know. It's a little flowery and
it's a melodrama.
Yeah, melodrama.
And it's flowery. Because James L. Brooks before this he had written on for years in TV, right?
Taxi,
Maude, Taxi, Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah,
and then he does this movie based on this book. You have to imagine the book is wild. It's just beautifully lived in.
Yeah.
And he read somewhere that he said it was one of the hardest writing experiences for him was to adapt this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
because he probably loved everything that he had to cut out. Are you a big broadcast news fan?
Oh my God.
I love broadcast news. It's been a while since I have revisited broadcast news. And I went to like broadcasting school, and there's something about the anxiety of live news that still to this day, that when I watch clips of that scene of Albert Brooks like sweating when he's doing like the camera stuff, or Joan Cusack like running across like the newsroom to get the tape in, it still gives me just anxiety that I go back to my directing for the camera classes, that I still am like, this is terrifying.
Broadcast news is probably considered a better film than Terms of Endearment.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's I don't know, if you look at the reviews and you go back, but I feel like in Terms of Endearment is a more emotionally.
Yeah.
I mean, the mother-daughter love story is just transcendent. But broadcast news is brilliant. And I mean, Holly Hunter gives an equally. I would say Holly Hunter gives a performance very, very much like Debra Winger's performance in this.
James L. Brooks won Best Director for Terms of Endearment.
I believe so.
I believe he did, and I believe it was his first movie. Does that happen?
Never
anymore?
That is unheard of. The only first movie in recent times that I can say is as assured as James L. Brooks' Terms of Endearment would be Robert Eggers' The Witch.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I mean,
which are obviously
wildly I can also think of other. I think that Sam Mendes won for American Beauty, and he had never done a movie.
Oh.
Okay,
but I mean, he also came from stage too.
Sure,
so
but Sam didn't adapt.
No,
American
True.
Beauty.
Yeah.
The fact that that James L. Brooks adapted this and directed it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And produced it just back in the '80s when you could just do all three and have a sole producing credit on it. Yeah.
I want to mention one other film from the '80s around this time period that also gives me the feels.
Please do.
Peter Bogdanovich's Mask.
Oh yeah, we like during the pandemic.
Yeah, we watched it.
Mask.
How was that revisited for you? How was that?
I mean, I hadn't seen it since I was like 13 years old, and just watching it on cable. That I don't think I'd ever actually watched it completely in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I think that, we lived in Pasadena, the San Gabriel Valley, for like over 10 years, and the movie's set in the SGV in like Covina. So it was just like, this is like our hood.
But did you guys cry?
But Cher, get the hell out of here.
Did you guys cry your little eyeballs out at the end?
Not as much as I did last night for Terms,
Okay.
but I did. It was definitely something.
I think I related to
"She's
Rocky,
so good."
to that character, the boy, his deformed face, to his otherness.
Yeah.
Growing up as a queer kid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And just kind of, it's a thing that he had that was, he couldn't hide it at all.
Right.
He couldn't put a hat on.
No,
he couldn't get away from it. And he just had a certain attitude about, this is, my life or whatever. And so that was something that it was like, it's one of those things that there's like memes about it. Like there's memes about like kids are the best at finding out who's gay in the room. Why you talk like that? And growing up, it's one of those things that like they all fucking knew before I did.
Oh yeah.
Everybody in my school sure as hell
very confusing for a kid.
knew it. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it's
Who, me, Mary?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Doing lines from all of like the best lines from the Jeffersons that I just seen the night before, just wanting to be Florence.
Like quoting an entire scene of like Outrageous Fortune. Of just bet dialogue.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Down Out in Beverly Hills.
Really, yeah.
Talk about gay. That kid, that was me. That kid was me.
We're working our way through the bet
Touchstone movies.
Touchstone movies. We'll do that in Beaches soon, probably.
Ruthless People, Outrageous Fortune.
Yeah,
all those.
Yeah, but yeah, Mask is it's amazing. Cher's great. What's his name? Mustache.
Eric Stoltz. Oh,
No.
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott.
So hot.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's another one that movie started my mom's love affair with Sam Elliott. To this day, she's like, Sam Elliott. Oh, she has to get the fan out. When
Sam Elliott and like Roadhouse.
Yeah, but I think Mask was the one that really set her off because my mom and Cher go way back. They are old friends. But yeah, just movies from that time period. They don't do these like they don't.
What do we have? What do we have?
Come on,
we can't have nice things anymore.
I guess that like TV does it with a show like Mare of Easttown.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, just very different mediums.
Yeah.
But Mayor of Easttown is a sort of true crime.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
It's kind of like cop drama.
what something like the Bridget Everett show on HBO. Somebody Somewhere.
Sure.
Which nobody knows about.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like that's a very small human comedy drama.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I feel like there's when we have to dig and say like Noah Baumbach is doing something like James L. Brooks is doing, So yeah, it was a different time, and we're able to have these movies. Like you said, the top 10 of '83.
Yeah.
Bangers.
Very, very eclectic.
All great, very eclectic. There is
all
some
different
IP
types of
thrown in
genres, and
Yeah.
I mean, just there's something in there for everyone.
there. Yeah, but I mean, this movie we did have to rent it. It's not streaming anywhere.
This one
on any
does
of the
come and
platforms,
go.
but it comes and goes
on
Yeah.
streaming.
I watched this on Showtime.
Okay, yes,
Yep,
it did.
we
say it
noticed
was
on
And it
Showtime,
was
yeah.
really cool. It was a beautiful 2K or 4K transfer.
Okay.
I own this movie on DVD, so I've only watched it in standard def
Sure.
all these years.
Yeah.
So to watch Terms of Endearment on my projector
Oh wow, very nice.
by myself in 2K in high def,
Yeah.
I saw this whole level of detail I've never seen before. It was really
Isn't that great? We comment about that
Mm-hmm.
a lot on this show. Is that we'll watch on this 4K TV,
Mm-hmm.
and in our old apartment, the couch was about right
Yeah.
there. So,
So you could really tell.
We're catching
You
these
got
details.
a nice setup. I will let you know, listeners. They have like light, this really pretty blue light behind the flat screen.
Oh, it's all about
It's
the
rotating
It's
color
all about the
changing
rotating colors
LEDs.
on the flat screen. Yep.
Yeah, we are this. There's a lot. There is a lot of. We are in a mini cinema here.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, catching stuff like that when you watch these older movies, in high def, you're just like, holy shit!
See,
here's a
like,
gift.
I mean, you can see when I revisit Labyrinth on Blu-ray on like a 4K scan, you can see the color of the wallpaper in Sarah's living room, which I'd never noticed.
You
as a
can
kid.
see Bowie's blown out eye.
Yep, you can see
that crazy
Bowie's
people
blown
that-
out eye, which I'd never
as
really clocked
kids,
as a
we
kid.
never noticed watching
Incredible.
on VHS. But this movie is streaming on Showtime right now. We rented it. It was $3-4. Skip
Yeah.
your
Was it
skip your
was
latte.
it high def?
Yeah, we watched
Yeah.
on Amazon.
It was a good
It
transfer.
was a really good transfer.
I'm going
Yeah,
to
it was
make
beautiful.
the bold statement. I think this is probably one of the best movies to come out of the 1980s.
Oh, no question.
That if you were going to do a
No
top
question.
5 of great movies of the 80s, I think that Terms of Endearment has to be on there.
And you know what's interesting? Oftentimes, Best Picture winners do not age well.
oh no!
true, yeah.
Look at like the best picture winners of the last 10 years.
Crash?
Crash.
Yeah.
I mean, does anyone give a shit about Argo anymore?
No.
Yeah.
The Artist? No one
The
cares.
Artist? What's The Artist?
Yeah.
People were mad about Green Book the minute it won.
And girl, La La Land. Oh, that didn't win. Oops, that didn't win.
But still.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this definitely stood the test of time, and I mean, other than like the clothing or the outward like 70s and 80s-ness of it, it doesn't feel like you're watching like The Goodbye Girl or something, like something that's super duper 70s.
I think it's unfortunate that this movie does not get embraced by sort of art house theaters. It never plays in the Beverly.
Yeah.
Or the American Cinematheque. You don't see this film having a life.
I think the tearjerker aspect of it and the age of it makes people kind of, I don't know, maybe just people forget, or they're just like, oh, that's another schmaltzy
And
melodrama.
if you're
which
like,
it
and
is
also
not.
for like viewers that are maybe intimidated by it being sad, we'll have to say very, very funny.
So
that like for the most part,
I would say it's mostly a comedy.
It's played
Yes.
out as a comedy. Yeah.
It takes, a hard turn in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I will say, or the half hour, 25 minutes. I mean, time, I don't know how, James L. Brooks is a master of pacing.
Yes.
I can't even get over how fast the movie passes.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
actually staggering. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
This movie is
LOLing.
fun. Yeah.
We were LOLing
Yes.
all last night. We were mostly at Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
Mostly at Shirley MacLaine.
Shirley
just
MacLaine's
had
line
some-
delivery, she knocks all of that dialogue out of the park.
For like we said, first scene, first shots of the movie. The first shot of the movie is the baby nightlight. But once she opens the door, it's crib death. We were dying, and it just started. I was like, "Oh my god,
it's
this
crazy.
is amazing."
Yeah.
Was like that Reese Witherspoon movie that James L. Brooks did it kind of like ruin his...
What was that movie?
It was How Do You Know?
The last couple.
And
of
that was,
not,
that movie was Reese Witherspoon, Paul Rudd. It cost a lot of money, and it didn't make anything. And he hasn't made a movie since.
I don't know.
It's called How Do You Know?
How Do You Know? That was his last major movie. I guess that he just still produces The Simpsons.
Well, he's he's richer than God.
Made him a very, very rich man, so he just really doesn't need to anymore.
He's richer than God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, Jack is in How Do You Know?
Yeah, I remember that being.
Catherine Hahn.
I remember that being sort of a. It was supposed to be a big deal. It came out and it got pretty savage reviews.
I remember As Good as It Gets.
As good as it gets,
Was that James L. Brooks?
Yeah.
Because Julie Benz has a moment in that from Jawbreaker.
Oh.
Yep.
That's why.
Julie Benz.
And that dog's really cute, the little Brussels Griffon.
Won Helen or Oscar. Also, it won Jack an Oscar.
Is it Greg Kinnear in that?
Yes, he is.
Greg Kinnear.
He's the tragic gay character.
You know who I like? You know what filmmaker I really like? Ira Sachs.
I haven't seen too many Ira Sachs
He does
movies.
his last film, one of his last... Love is Strange, I think it was called.
Love is Strange is with Alfred Molina.
Yeah, but then he had a movie after that with Greg Kinnear called Men or Man.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called. Children? I don't know what it's called, but I love it. I think... Okay. And the reason I'm not pulling it... He's a humanist filmmaker. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not doing that great comedy drama balance.
Works in the same medium as James L. Brooks.
I will say that, he's a modern... queer director who is giving us very human.
Did he do the movie about the two gay men that one of them was like addicted to crack or something?
Yes.
Turn off the light.
Yes.
Turn on the light. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I've seen that.
Okay. All right. Well,
but please do watch his latest film with Greg Kinnear. It was on Netflix for a while. The title, Little Men is
Little Men. Sure.
Yeah,
I just think it's a beautiful film and so emotional and lovely, and great child performances.
Okay.
Watch it, you guys.
Right. Yeah, we will.
Add it to the queue. But you have to watch Near Dark first.
Yes.
I'm holding you to it, you guys.
I'm going to watch it.
Not in. Put it to number 1 on your list.
Maybe we'll watch it tonight.
Yeah,
you guys. Bill Paxton's so wonderful in it. It's Catherine Bigelow's first movie.
Yeah.
Jeanette Goldstein from Aliens. There's 3 actors from Aliens in it.
Mm-hmm.
That alone should make you watch it.
And the first Terminator, I think. Mm-hmm. Is Lance Henriksen in it?
Well, the 3 from Aliens are Paxton, Henriksen, and Jeanette Goldstein. Who is Vasquez, who's great. Yeah.
So 2 from Terminator 1, 1 from Terminator 2.
And all 3 from Aliens.
Yes. Love it. Okay, we'll definitely watch that.
Well, thank you so much, Darren.
This has been so much fun.
To talk about this with us. Are you up to anything like recently that you wanted to plug?
I am up to some fun things. I mean, nothing's like signed on the dotted line yet, so to talk about it is strange.
I saw on IMDb that Jawbreaker TV show, and I think that I read a press release. It is not happening.
No, but
IMDb needs to take it off your upcoming.
I am in the process of trying to get made Jawbreaker the movie musical.
Ooh.
A remake. I just actually pitched it to Chloe Bailey of Chloe and Haley.
Okay.
And she loved it. And we're going to see what happens.
All right.
But none of this, I'm
amorphous.
very silly for talking about this because it's not happening, but I don't care.
No.
I don't have any like...
We're manifesting things today.
We're manifesting things. But Darren,
I do not jinx, I manifest.
Exactly.
I mean, absolutely. I grew up... I was like a young person when Jawbreaker came out. I remember seeing the poster in our small hometown theater, and I fully knew that, this movie is not coming within 100 miles of my small town,
Montana.
But I remember just being fascinated with it.
Yeah.
And I think that
because you knew on some level a gay man, a queer person was involved with this.
And
absolutely.
I just remember being like 13 years old and looking at all 3 of them and just being like, those are women. Those are not girls. Like, those are women.
Well, you know what? As a little gay kid, I was always like fascinated by Carrie and Grease.
Yep.
Yeah. Because those 2 movies, they weren't girls, they weren't boys, they were men and women. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, in high school, I'm going to be a man and there's going to be women. And and so Jawbreaker, I really wanted... I consciously wanted everyone to look like adults.
Yeah.
It was a very conscious...
And just sort of that movie ages so well just because it lives in its own kooky universe.
It does. Yeah.
That it doesn't... It's not dated because everyone just sort of has this style.
It does. I wanted it to be timeless, and I feel like I have a lot of catching up to do with Heather's to my sisters. I mean, she is the Jan Brady of that trilogy. Heather's has a musical, it had a series. Mean Girls has had a Broadway, and now it's going to be a movie musical.
It's like,
you're working your way.
Jawbreaker's like the dark cult.
You're constantly competing with the Waters brothers. Yep.
Yeah. I've told this story about Daniel Waters before. Do you want me to tell it again on your podcast?
Yeah, sure, please do.
Okay. Well, my first one was called Sparkler, which is great. You guys should see that.
Okay.
I remember Sparkler. Yep.
Freddie Prinze Jr. Talk about women. Grace Zabriskie, Veronica Cartwright, Park Overall.
Ooh.
It's got a great female cast. That's coming out on streaming. Hopefully, we just did a 2K transfer.
Okay.
So it's coming out on streaming this year through Strand. Okay. Then I made Jawbreaker. Then I made GBF. Okay. So GBF. When I made that movie, which I didn't write, I wrote and directed Jawbreaker. GBF I just directed.
Okay.
But I did develop the script with the writer. But Daniel Waters wrote on my wall on Facebook.
And Daniel Waters is very active on Facebook.
Yeah,
I follow him.
Daniel
he posts
Waters
all the time.
Just for people who don't know, that he wrote Heathers and Batman Returns.
He's been posting a lot lately because it's like Batman Returns just had a big anniversary.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's made it very public over the years that he just did not like Jawbreaker, thought it ripped off Heathers. Good for you, girl. I'm glad that you're, I'd rather have someone be more real than not.
Sure. Yeah.
Tina Fey says nothing about her influences. It's like I'm very verbal about the fact that I was influenced by films like Heathers, Carrie, Grease, Rock and Roll High School.
Yes.
So anyway, he wrote on my Facebook wall, we all know that I'm not a fan of your first film.
A fan.
But I have seen GBF. And welcome to the club of iconic teen movies.
Kind of like a good backhanded compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I was like, that's cool that you love GBF so much that you think it's an iconic teen movie. But,
Yeah.
But I was already in that club.
But welcome
Thank
to
you
the
very
club. Wow.
Isn't that good?
That is amazing.
And he's heterosexual.
Wait a minute. He's not gay.
No.
Wait.
Oh man. I think I just assumed that he was just a big old homo.
No.
Wow.
And I believe his brother, Mark Waters, who directed Mean Girls, is not gay either. He's married with kids as well.
That is
Daniel Waters doesn't have kids, though.
the cattiest comment from a straight person
Well, honey,
I've ever heard.
he wrote Heathers, the cattiest movie of all time.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It just goes to show that sexuality and gender are two different things.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Heathers is fucking brilliant. It is the godmother.
It's great.
I've only ever said that about that movie.
Yeah.
So I have nothing but love for Daniel Waters.
Yeah. And he has nothing but love for GBF.
But one thing I will say that I feel vindicated about is I was on that Attack of the Queer Wolf podcast a while ago with Rebecca McKendry, who's like a horror sort of academic, and she's directing, and she's really brilliant. And she said to me, and we were on the Rocky Horror episode, which was great, because we're both obsessed with Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
And she goes, Darren, you should know, I want to tell you, I interviewed John Waters back when I think Serial Mom came out or something, or maybe it was, I don't know, it was Pecker or something.
Sure.
And it was in the 90s, and she was like, have you ever seen, they're talking about teen movies, and she said, have you ever seen Drop Dead Gorgeous? I love Drop Dead Gorgeous. And Waters was like, no, I haven't seen that, I gotta see that. And John's like, but have you ever seen Jawbreaker? And she goes, of course, I love Jawbreaker. And he's like, well, I love that movie. That's the one that you should see. And I think it's great. I don't know. Maybe Rebecca didn't see it at the time and she saw it because John recommended it.
Wow.
But knowing that John was a fan.
Sure.
That's kind of...
I mean, it's just like
That's all you need.
any shady thing that
Yeah.
anyone ever says about Jawbreaker, you can always just pull.
Yeah.
Well, John Waters likes it, so
And how weird is that I
the
just...
fuck is your opinion? Yeah.
And how interesting that I just learned that a year or two ago when I was on that podcast.
Yeah, that's funny that you
Yeah.
just... Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
It made me feel good.
Yeah, totally.
Because
I
John
love
was
it.
obviously a huge influence for
Oh,
me.
yeah,
And when
for
I went back and rewatched Pink Flamingos and Female Trouble, I was like, fuck, this guy really influenced me.
You're like those subliminal things that you're like, I kind of took that joke and didn't even think about it.
A friend and past guest of us reached out to Criterion, and he got us the new Pink Flamingos earlier.
I'm so jealous.
All of the supplements are great.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. There's extras of John going to old locations, and he just goes over to the house that, I mean, like, it's a beautiful like countryside house now where the trailer was. And he like walks through the location
knocks on the door
with the people that live there. Yep.
You know, the fact that John loves Jawbreaker and the fact that Joshua Grinnell, a.k.a. Peaches Christ, is literally dear friends with him.
Yeah.
To me, that's just enough.
Yeah, so cool.
I feel like John's on my orbit.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah,
I don't feel the need to be his friend. I don't feel the need to like any of that. I just love to know that he's close.
Yeah, you're peripherally connected.
Exactly.
I love it. Only 1 degree.
1 degree.
Yeah, love it. Great. And now we are 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Because you've been on our show. Thank you so much again for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yes, indeed. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you so much. We would love to have you on again in the future.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be great. But until then, we will bid you adieu. Thank you so much, and we will see you very, very soon.
Bye.
And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Fun show.
Yes, indeed. Go check out All About Evil.
Yeah, All About Evil.
Darren's movie. It's released by Severin.
There's a new
Films.
Severin Blu-ray transfer anniversary. I think it's came out in like 2010, so it's like the 12th.
12 years, yeah. It was going to be a 10-year anniversary spectacular, but then the pandemic happened.
Peaches Christ wanted to show it in the movie theaters again, so yeah.
But yeah, go check that out. It's available through Severin Films, and you can buy the awesome Blu-ray. It looks amazing. Patrons, you can also find a link to it in the newest newsletter. So head over and check that out.
Yeah, we did a little write-up on it.
Speaking of patrons...
Ooh, Patreon shout-outs.
Yes, indeed. We'd love to say hey, hello to Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Christopher, Susan, JJ, Leighton, Shelby, Michael, Charlie, Muffy, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Joshua, Emma, Melly, Aaron, Melinda, Jim, Jessica, Nick, and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino. Thank you for being patrons.
So much.
Head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay. There's a brand new newsletter.
You'll get the newsletter. You'll get all of the Watch With Us commentaries.
Over 20 movies where we've provided.
And there will be a new one by the time this episode comes out.
Absolutely. So check out the latest commentary. We don't even know what it is because we've recorded this from the past. But head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay. Thank you so much, everybody, for being patrons and support us.
Give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars.
Write us a review.
Absolutely. We'll read any and all new reviews that get posted on Apple.
If you write us some kind words, we will read them on the air.
Yes, indeed. And if you give us 5, if you listen to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can give us 5 stars right there through the app on your phone. It's in your hand right now. Don't lie to me. It is. You know it. I know it. You can also follow us on any and all these social media platforms. We are on all of them. On Instagram and on Facebook, we are at Movies That Made Us Gay, and on
Twitter at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. And if you so dare, you can follow our personal accounts. My name is Pete. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Peter Lasagna.
And you can follow me, Scott Youngballer, on Instagram, and follow my letterbox. I post to it almost every day.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much again for listening once again. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.